KC Joyner, one thought every game. Let's get his thoughts on what he saw from this new-look Eagles offense. Did we see a new-look Eagles offense? Did we just see better execution? Did we see a mix of everything? What did you see with Jalen Hurts and why this Eagles offense seemed to have a little bit of a spark?
We keep talking, or we've been talking over the past couple of years, that Doug Peterson ought to be leaning more heavily on a power ground game, that should be something he should do. And he'll do it for a game or two, and then he'll get back away from it and say he goes to something else. Well, yesterday showed power running, leaning on that type of game, high percentage passing, that sort of thing. It works very well for this team. They use two tight ends on a vast majority of their plays, and all the running plays that they were doing, a lot of creativity there. I just think this is the blueprint for what the team should be for the rest of the season.
You mentioned high percentage passing. I think that's been a big topic of conversation, is that Hurts was hitting these and then in turn making the down and distance a lot more manageable. He hits on first down for 4 or 5 yards. It makes the whole playbook a lot more easy to use.
Yeah, it does, and I think he was more willing to be able to take the dink and dunk throws. According to the NFL playbook, NFL game book, he only threw 2 deep passes in this game. That's a pass from 15 or more yards downfield. One was that cross-field pass to Rager, which was almost completed. I think it was in the first quarter. It was almost completed, a little bit off, and the second one was one that Rager just knocked down because he was so well covered the pass should have never come his way. So he didn't try and take the risky downfield passes that Wentz was trying to make, and it worked because the game plan was to give him those passes. That's the thing. I never understand that Peterson wants to always do the creative downfield stuff. You can get creative in the short passing game and then the running game, too, and yesterday was proof.
Well, we saw, I think, another big change in what we saw in this offense was the incompletions from Hurts were decisions to fight another play, where Wentz, his incompletions were inaccurate throws for the most part.
Yeah, it definitely, and that's I love the creativity though on these passes. I mean, they're doing they do that little tap pass on the sweep in the first half. They were doing some bubble screens. They were doing things of that nature, and he's just willing to take them. I just think that's one of the things we talked before that Wentz's favorite player growing up, as I understand it, was Brett Favre, and he wants to take those risky passes. And I guess Jalen Hurts is not a big Brett Favre fan. I don't know who his favorite quarterback was, but he's willing to take dink and dunk throws,
So what are some of the things you watch from Hurts? I mean, his completion percentage, 57%, not great, but he obviously ran very well 18 times. This league is going to figure that out soon. So what does he need to work on?
The beautiful part about the 18 rushes is that some of them were scrambles. He did very well on them, but there were some zone reads. There were a couple of zone reads. There was one in the first half, I think it was in the second quarter, where he faked where he had a zone read where it was a fake to Sanders coming down, and he could have handed the ball off to him, and he kept it. And I don't know if maybe the play didn't have it built in for Sanders to be able to get the ball. If it was just he was designed to be fake the entire way. But had he handed the ball off to Sanders, it would have been possibly a big gainer, and instead Hurts got like 4 or 5 yards because he got tackled quickly. So there were times in there, I think, that he had options to hand the ball off on those zone reads, and he decided to keep them. And I'd like to see him hand the ball off more because you don't want to see 18 rushes every game. And if he's handing the ball off more often, it's going to make the defense more aware of those plays and maybe open up for when he does decide to keep
Big topic of conversation, no sacks. Is that because the line played better, or is that because quicker, more decisive play from the quarterback?
I think that it's a combination of that he can scramble and in a way that Wentz can't. You saw a lot of the little half rolls and a little different things of that nature. I think they said we're not going to have him drop back. In fact, I only saw one time during the game where I thought that Peterson was getting a little frustrated. It got to be 17-14. The very next series, they had Hurts doing 3 straight drop back passes. And I'm like, don't go to that. Don't do that. You see that Peterson's like, okay, we got to do drop back passing. And they barely got a first down. And then he shook it off and said, okay, we're going to go back and do something else. I think that was part of it. He never got to the point Peterson did where I've got to just call straight drop back passes all the time. I'm not going to ask my line to do a lot of those things. I'm going to keep doing these creative plays. It's harder to do that for the entire game, but it worked, and I think they need to keep doing that because that'll keep the offensive line from being a problem.
All right, one thought every game. Let's take a look at Week 14 in the books tonight, where we have Baltimore-Cleveland. It's a good one. Baltimore loses. They're eliminated. Cleveland wins, and they're a step closer to the postseason.
Yeah, and I think I'm picking Cleveland to win this contest because their run blocking has gotten back to where it was earlier this year. I think it's going to be one of those slugfest games, though, and I think the Cleveland's rush defense is not as good as it could be. So going to be a very close game. Going to pick Cleveland in this, but I think Cleveland, if the rush defense is as bad as I think it is, it's going to be a problem for them the rest of the way.
One thought every game, Chicago blows out Houston, and the Bears are on life support for a wild card spot.
They are in Houston. I mean, the way they have been playing, I picked them to win that game, and they just it's not there for them. And the Chicago defense finally stepped back up. They've been playing terrible of late, and they really stepped up yesterday against not a powerhouse offense, but a good offense. So that's a big plus for Chicago.
Dallas wins big. Cincinnati just all sorts of problems, obviously, but the Dallas defense has been maligned. They showed up.
They did, and that's the thing. They play they need to play a type of conservative offense too. They need to have that type of a setup, and they did yesterday. In fact, Allen had 270 passing yards, and it was more than what Andy Dalton threw for. So if that's what Dallas needs to be, because that defense is so bad, they've got to protect it if they want a chance to win.
Entertaining game in Miami. Kansas City holds on 4 picks from Mahomes. Miami, though, impressed.
Miami did impress. Brian Flores, he get my vote for Coach of the Year. He's able to to be able to get Patrick Mahomes to make the mistakes that he did and get the pass rush pressure that he did. Other teams are going to take that as a blueprint to try to slow Kansas City. But even with that, Mahomes still throws for 393 yards. That's the best offense in the NFL.
All right, Arizona. A lot of people like New York in this game, and Arizona said not today. The Giants really struggled.
They did. I had Arizona losing that contest too, and for them to go across the country and not have a great game. Really, throws to 244 yards. They didn't have a great rushing game either, but their defense finally stepped up. Their defense has been a sieve, and the Giants are a great offense, but to be able to hold them to 7, that's a big plus for Arizona.
Philly plays Arizona this Sunday. You heard it. Arizona's defense has been problematic. They played well on Sunday. Minnesota, they're in that wild card berth. They could not get it done against Tampa Bay.
Tampa Bay had the bye week come at a perfect time for them. They needed a break. They needed to get a little rest time, and you could see that yesterday they were playing well on both sides of the ball because their defense had been a problem too. I think they were wearing down, so getting that break was a big plus for them. I think that was the difference in the game. All
right, you look at Denver, Carolina. This was a shootout there. Both of these teams, Denver's really tough to figure out.
They are, and they've got the makings of a good team. And Locke is a solid quarterback. I think he would be mid-tier quarterback. I'm not sure if he'll ever be a top 10 quarterback. If you give him enough talent, he might. Carolina, it just shows for them, it's what are they without Christian McCaffrey? Their offense has become so much Christian McCaffrey, and they just haven't been the same without him. And if they get him back the rest of the season or next year when they get him back, I think it'll be a different team.
One thought every game with KC Joyner. Tennessee takes care of business against Jacksonville.
They do, and Derrick Henry is I'm going to date myself a little bit here, but the Earl Campbell was the great power back when I was growing up, and he was just a guy that teams just feared to face because of how he could just overrun people. Derrick Henry is that. He is just he's a phenom when you get him running downhill, and Jacksonville couldn't stop him from running downhill.
Indianapolis keeps pace with them, though. They beat Vegas. Vegas fires their defensive coordinator after this.
They needed to. They were getting into way too many shootout games, and they're the type of team, they want to be a John Gruden, run the ball a lot, and then and play strong defense. And their defense is so bad that it gets them out of their offensive game plan, and they had to make that move. But I don't think they get those defensive issues fixed this year because the coaching change isn't going to do it.
Yeah, Paul Gunther, he was a head coaching candidate a couple of years ago. Now he's on the unemployment line. Jets lose again. This one was embarrassing. All Seahawks, 40-3.
I believe the Jets had actually scored 27 or more points in 3 of their previous 4 games. You look at what they did on offense there, they had absolutely nothing. And mind you, a lot of it has to do with talent, and they don't have the most talented team, but they're not a team that should be putting up 3 points against the Seahawks defense that have been abysmal this year. The Jets took another step back.
KC Joyner with one thought on every game. We go to Green Bay, Detroit. This is a fun one. Shootout back and forth. Green Bay on the road, though, gets it done. And now they're the number 1 seed.
They are the number 1 seed, and they show that they can do. They're now showing they can win in a variety of styles. Green Bay is not the most consistent team, and they are going to be if they're the number 1 seed, the number 1 seed with a lot of weaknesses. I give Detroit a lot of credit though. Bevel's trying to show that he can be a head coach, and he's getting offensive production. He's going with his strength, and didn't work out yesterday, but to keep it close against the Packers is a feather in his cap.
Atlanta and the Chargers. The Chargers had that wacky play, but both of these teams are the poster childs for figuring out ways to lose.
They are. And the Chargers, the 3 wins this year had come against teams that had a combined total of 3 wins. This is their first quality win of the season. Herbert, though, I don't know if I even give him Offensive Rookie of the Year right now. I'd probably give it to Jefferson because Herbert's been struggling for a few weeks now. Teams have figured him out, and the Chargers are able to win outside of that is a big plus for them.
All right, Washington, San Francisco. This one was interesting. Washington comes back. They had to change quarterbacks. Haskins comes in, and Washington now leads the division, and they're in the wild card chase all of a sudden.
They're only a few points away from having won, I think it was like 7 straight games. They have played exceptionally well in a lot of areas. To hold San Francisco to 15 is San Francisco doesn't have a great offense, but you hold any team to under 20, you're doing a great job. And Washington was able to get better production out of their backfield than that you would have thought they could have got with Gibson out. So Washington finding ways to win is a big plus.
One thought every game, Pittsburgh, Buffalo. This one, I had people text me last night, what, Buffalo not feel like showing up? They won the game, and Pittsburgh looked like the team by the end that didn't feel like they wanted to be there.
Yeah, both of them were kind of sleepwalking through that contest last night. But Pittsburgh is realizing what a lot of teams have already realized, that if you got an old quarterback, you don't want to ask him to throw the ball 600 times. And the Steelers right now are on pace to have Roethlisberger throw the ball 650 times. Even Roethlisberger's post-game comments were like, well, I guess, maybe I can't do as much as I used to, but I still think I can find ways for this team to win. Yeah, you can't throw vertical passes anymore. The deep pass is gone from the Steelers' attack, and I think they're a very flawed team.
Casey's back on Friday for one thought on every Week 15 game. We've got Saturday games, we've got Sunday and a Monday, and of course, he, like all guests, appeared via the Boardwalk Honda hotline. We will catch up with you on the Friday show, Casey.
Thanks, Mike.